how's it going? I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and this is a realistic rebuild Knicks video. In these type of videos, I do free agent signings, I draft rookies, and I also make trades on behalf of the Knicks. If you're into content like that, I would just ask you to consider subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. I also have a playlist put together for you guys with my realistic rebuilds and my building block videos as well. So check that out when you get a chance. In this video, I'm going to be including 2 trades for the Knicks, and I'm also going to include 2 unrestricted free agent signings, as well as making 2 draft picks for the Knicks. So let's jump right into it and explain why I made these selections. So the first player I'm going to be targeting is Chris Paul. I've already shown you guys a trade that I'm going to be using to pull off this deal. I'm going to link it up above if you guys want to check it out. But basically, we're going to be acquiring Chris Paul for Julius Randle, Wayne Ellington, and also Elfrid Payton. If you believe the Thunder might want Taj Gibson over Wayne Ellington, you can, swap the two. Both of those players will no longer be on the team at the end of this rebuild. And also, if you think that the Thunder may want a little bit more, you could also include the 2021 Clippers pick, if I'm not mistaken. If that pick is better than the Knicks pick, then we have the ability to swap. If not, then that pick is null and void. So it's basically, a small little, offering to the Thunder if you think those 3 players aren't enough to get it done. Me personally, I think those 3 players will be able to get it done. So that's what I'm going to move forward with. The next player I'm going to be acquiring is Kelly Oubre Jr. I already dropped a video for you guys detailing what I thought would be a reasonable deal for Kelly. I'm going to link that up above if you guys want to check it out. I'm going to alter that trade slightly. There were some comments saying that they felt I was giving up too much for Kelly Oubre and that the Suns were just trying to give him away. So, all right, if the Suns are just going to try to give him away, it allows me to be a lot more creative with my rebuild. So I'm going to use an actual trade that was suggested to me in the comments of that video. It would basically be the Phoenix Suns trading the number 10 pick and Kelly Oubre to the Knicks for the number 8. So we would move back 2 slots, and then we would also bring in Kelly Oubre. Me personally, I think that would be a steal for the Knicks. So I'm not going to argue against it. I'm just going to use it in my deal and, make it benefit me. So those are going to be the 2 trades. So now with that, let's jump into the full roster breakdown, and that's when I'll unveil or reveal. It's unveil and reveal. So I'm going to unveil/reveal the full roster lineup. All right, now we're going to look at the full roster that I'm going to create for the 2020-21 season. We're going to start with point guards. So I already told you guys before, we're going to be bringing in Chris Paul to be the lead guard, the point guard for the team. Yes, I know he has a hefty salary at, I think it's 41 this year, 45 next year, but he's a leader. And one thing that the Knicks have lacked for a very long time is leadership. We probably haven't had, legit leadership since maybe the Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler days. After that, we pretty much were led by, players that necessarily didn't have the team's best interests in mind. So I think bringing in Chris Paul, a player that's not necessarily going to be here trying to play for a next contract, this is pretty much going to be it. So if he's okay with not moving on to a contender, and he's okay with he's willing to work with some of our young guys and help bring them along, I think he'd be a good fit. There have also been reports that the Knicks are looking to actually acquire him as well. I'll link a video that I did on that report. So with Chris Paul, we're also going to still keep Dennis Smith Jr. We're going to let this coaching staff work with him and actually see if they can, unlock his full potential. So Dennis Smith is going to stay. And with the 10th pick that we traded for Phoenix Suns, I'm going to use that to, sign Tyrese Halliburton, the point guard out of Iowa. At the 10th pick, there are going to be a few point guards that, Halliburton is actually, looked at to be maybe potentially a combo guard between the 1 and the 2. But if we're looking for somebody that's going to be playing that role, we could look at Halliburton. We could look at Cole Anthony. You have RJ Hampton. You have Kira Lewis. There are players that we could look outside of Tyrese Halliburton. But for this example, for this rebuild, I'm going to select him. I like the size of the player. He's 6'5", and he's good defensively, which is very good with Tibbs. And, one of his weaknesses is he's not necessarily, he's a good passer, but he's not necessarily able to get a lot of people or beat a lot of players off the dribble. So if he can work with a player like Chris Paul, who could bring him under the wing and kind of, school him, show him some of the angles he can take to the basket to try to, get in front of his defender, I think that would be very beneficial in Halliburton's, development. Not, with him also being able to play the 1 and the 2, we would have rotations where we can have both Chris Paul and Halliburton on the court at the same time. Halliburton also adds, some more shooting to the team. He has a very funky, jump shot, but he, was still able to hit them, hit the 3 at a 41% clip. If I'm not mistaken, at Iowa. So for the point guards, those would be the 3 that we'd have on the team at the start of the season. So now let's move on to the shooting guards. At shooting guard, we're going to have RJ Barrett. That's obvious. He was our first round pick from last year. I want to see how he develops under this new coaching staff and what kind of potential they can unlock with him this season. He'll be more acclimated to the league, and I'm looking for big things from RJ, moving forward into this upcoming season. Also, we're going to have Frank Niddy playing the 2. I'm hearing reports that he's working on his jump shots, but but then again, we hear that regularly. So hopefully Frank Niddy, he can move over to the 2. He can be, the lead, or he can be the guard that we sent out to go after the other opposing team's best point guard. And another thing I like with Frank Niddy, if we have a lineup that's out there with Halliburton and Frank Ntilikina, we have 2, lanky guards that can, pretty much help, neutralize, or at least try to neutralize the opposing team's guard. As Knicks fans, we know point guards kill the Knicks. I remember a few years back, I was actually in attendance for that Russell Westbrook game where he dropped a triple-double on us, and I ended up going with my friend. And, by halftime, we're looking up at the scoreboard, and we're like, he's almost got a triple-double. How the hell did this happen? So to have 2 guards on the lineup, to have 2 guards on the team that we can actually throw at the best guard on an opposing team, I think that is a very good way to start with Tibbs implementing his system. So with the later pick, the 27th pick, I have the Knicks actually drafting Isaiah Joe. He is a 6'5" shooting guard out of Arkansas. And I'm picking Isaiah Joe because the Knicks need more shooting. If the Knicks weren't worse in shooting, they were down close to it. So to bring in a younger player that can actually shoot and help stretch the floor, it would be beneficial to the offense. Do I think he'll come in as a later draft pick and actually, make a dent or have a big impact on the team? Not necessarily, but like I said, we have we're actually investing in developing our players. So I think with these later picks, we can sit them down, whether it be send them to the G League or just let them be either a 13, 14, 15 player on the roster. Well, honestly, no, I wouldn't want that. I'd rather them have the G League if they're not going to play. But if they're going to be up with the club, at least we have these coaches that can work with them, and we'll be able to see them, blossom. We won't have like a Damian Dotson where we're not going to re-sign him. I made a video about that as well. So that is something I would really hope the Knicks would be able to do. Whoever they end up picking with that 27th pick, actually being able to work with them and, let us get more bang for our buck. So with that being said, we're going to move over to the small forwards. So before, like I said, we're going to be trading for Kelly Oubre. So Kelly Oubre is here on the team now. Also, we have Kevin Knox still at small forward. And with Kevin Knox, we can also play him sometimes at the 4. I'm going to show you that a little bit later on in the video when I show you some, potential rotations and where some of the players could actually play. And then we have Iggy. Iggy didn't really play much last year, but I remember him killing in Summer League. So hopefully in his second year, he'll be able to get a little bit more playing time. And, we'll be able to see what he can do. So at power forward, We're going to have Christian Woods. That's going to be my first unrestricted free signing. We're going to get him at 9. So now we're going to go to the power forwards, and that's where we're going to have my first unrestricted free agent signing. I'm going to have the Knicks bringing in Christian Woods. I think the max contract that he's going to be able to command is going to be right around 9 to 10 million. So I just cut it in the middle, 9.5. If we have to, there is still space in the cap room for us to up that offer to the max 10. But I think the way Christian Woods has performed, especially, later on in the season after they, gave him a larger role in the offense, I think, 10 mil for his level of production is not something that you would complain about, even if it's going to be a longer term deal, whether that be a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal. And also, we still have Kenny Wooten. He is still on a 2-way contract, so he could still spend some time up here, or he could, still go down to the Westchester. Well, technically, he can go up to the Westchester Knicks if the Northern. Well, but then if you go down, they're a lower league, so I guess you could say it anyway. So, so Kenny Wooten is still also an option. And also, if we're going to be using, Kenny Wooten, if he goes down to the Westchester Knicks, we could then get a little bit more time in the rotation for Kevin Knox at power forward. Even though I don't think Kenny Wooten off jump is going to necessarily see a lot of minutes initially, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what Tibbs does with his rotation to start the season. And then at center, we're going to have Mitchell Robinson. That's pretty obvious as well. He is going to be manning or the anchor of our defense. So with Christian Woods there as well, Christian Woods does have some shot blocking capability. It won't all be on Mitchell Robinson to protect the paint. And that way, hopefully he'll stay out of foul trouble. We won't be in foul trouble as often. So I think that Christian Woods signing also helps Mitchell Robinson as well. I think the Halliburton pick also helps Mitchell Robinson. You got a better on-ball defender. So we'll see. Well, we won't see, but hopefully we'll see if the Knicks do this, they need to cut me a check. I'm just saying that now, but moving forward. Also, with the last pick, this is going to be the last unrestricted free agent signing that's going to be on the team. It's going to be Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines is coming from the Phoenix Suns as well. We're going to sign him. He's a center. I don't know if he plays much power forward, but he's a stretch big that can step out and, give some spacing on the court. If you see with this team, for the most part, a lot of these players have the ability to hit the three. Chris Paul can hit the three at a respectable figure. Halliburton in college shows that he can hit the three. RJ and Frank are kind of troublesome when it comes to the outside shooting, but hopefully they'll develop over the offseason. Isaiah Joe, another good jump shooter. Kelly Oubre, he's progressed as an outside shooter. Kevin Knox as well. Iggy, he is a shooter, so he's a shooter, so that's pretty much what he does. And then Christian Woods as well has the ability to step out and hit outside jump shots as well. So you can see I'm trying to get much more shooting on the Knicks. I'm trying to stay young as well. This is something that I'm looking more so long term. If you look at the actual team and you look at the actual salaries, yes, we have Chris Paul's big hefty contract, but the remaining players on the team aren't really paid as much. Kelly Oubre, he'll be off the books if it doesn't pan out. Frank Niddy, he'll be off the books if it doesn't pan out. DSJ, he'll be off the books if it doesn't, pan out. Aaron Bynes, you can structure the deal where it's a 1+1 deal, similar to what we signed with, Taj Gibson, Wayne Ellington, et cetera, et cetera. So if we're able to do this, we still have a ton of flexibility moving forward in the 2021 offseason when a lot more free agents are going to be available. And, even if these players do pan out, we can sign somebody in that offseason, and then we can use our bird rights to sign whichever player shows out, and go over the cap. So if one of these players shows that they could be, maybe not a star player, but at least a very competent role player, we can bring in another big name to add to Chris Paul. Maybe we can even bring maybe 2 big names that have to do the actual calculations to see how far over the cap we are. But, no, if Christian Woods is still playing to the way that he's been playing on the Pistons recently, I won't say a big 3, but he could be a very good, second option on offense, or even third option if Chris Paul is still performing to the way he performed this season. So this roster still has plenty of flexibility. So, I know you guys might kill me saying, Paul's contract is huge, but I just try to still remain as flexible as I can for the actual 2021 offseason. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you actually how the team looks on the court, just to see what you guys, think, and if you feel that the rotations would be So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys into a court view just to show you how the team would look as assembled. So right now we have the full lineup, or the full roster displayed. So at point guard, we have Chris Paul, we have RJ Barrett at the 2, we have Kelly Oubre at the 3, we have Christian Woods at the 4, and we have Mitch at the 5. If you want, because Kevin Knox is a younger player, has less time in the league, if you want to throw him into the starting lineup just to see if he'll be able to actually blossom this season, you can also move Kevin Knox right into the starting lineup, and then you can just have Kelly Oubre coming off the bench. I don't know if if Oubre will be too happy about that. He averaged 18 points a game, but if the coach says it, got to be done. So also we have Halliburton here. He can come in at the 2 in spurt. Oh, that's unlock. He can come in at the 2 in spurts and play off of Chris Paul. We could even move RJ to the 3 in these situations. Move RJ to the 3. Christian Woods can come out. We can move Kevin Knox to the 4. Put Woods back on the bench. We can also spell Chris Paul with DSJ at times. We can even, I would say, I wouldn't say we could play Frank or Halliburton at the 3, because a lot of threes in the league are a little bit more physical and a lot stronger. So I would just alternate them between 1 and the 2. If Halliburton puts on a little bit more weight throughout the years, if he has a growth spurt, maybe we can dabble with him at the 3. But I don't see that being an actual realistic solution at the moment. And then we still have Iggy. I don't know if Iggy will see much playing time this season. It all depends on how he's looking in practice or in training camp. So that's an option as well. And we still have Wooten. I know you guys also are wondering about Theo Pinson and other players like that. Those players, well, Pinson at least is on a 2-way contract, so they can still play in the G League. It's the G League. Did they change the name? They changed it to the G League. It used to be the D League. So they can still be in the G League and actually play. So if you are wondering where those guys were in this actual rebuild. So I would just like to hear what you guys think about my, thought process when it came to building this team. Just let me know down in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching this far. If you like what I'm doing here, just consider, subscribing, liking, and sharing. So once again, I'm Keith. This is Sports Vibes TV, and I'm out.